Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I appreciate you clicking on today's episode. We, if you haven't found out by the title, are gonna be building a mini ecosystem. You can set this up really with any size aquarium you want to and make it a full self-supporting ecosystem. We are gonna be doing this on a little bit of a miniature scale. We don't have a ton of shrimp or a ton of snails that we're gonna be putting into this setup, but we're gonna show you guys on a smaller scale how to set up a fully self-supporting ecosystem for very cost-effective and cheap to do. When I say cheap, I don't mean like bad quality, I mean like really inexpensive. So make sure you guys stay tuned until the end. We're gonna break everything down for you, walk you through this step-by-step on what products you'll need, what actual tank you'll need to get, if you want to do exactly what we're doing. But I appreciate you guys clicking on today's video. Again, if you're new, make sure you drop a like down below, consider subscribing, but let's go ahead and get into the action. All right guys, well I appreciate you again clicking on today's video. We are gonna go over first off what supplies you will actually need to be able to set this entire ecosystem up. In no real particular order, a lot of this stuff we got prior to, or we had from other builds, so some of this stuff is brand spanking new that we ordered online. Just to show you a cost breakdown for how expensive this is, make sure you wait until the end to figure out how much this little ecosystem costs to build. It really depends on the size enclosure and how many of these animals you end up getting. However, it's gonna be relative in terms of cost, and you can kind of break that down as well. It also depends on what animals and shrimp and other little invertebrates you may want to put inside of this little ecosystem. But I'm going to break down everything that we used, and starting off with number one is going to be a pair of tongs. Yes, I said it right. We're not talking about reptiles, we're talking about shrimp and invertebrates. But these are some rubber tip tongs. I'm not sure if you can see it too well, but basically these have like a little rubber tip on them. And the reason why I recommend to get the rubber tip tongs is because we are actually going to be using these to handle our plants. So we actually plant these in the base of the gravel and substrate that we're going to use in today's build. You're going to need a pair of tongs to do so. So you need yourself a pair of tongs, or I guess you can use your fingers if you really want to dip down, but a pair of tongs comes in handy. All right, so number two is a small net. Now we are going to be dealing with freshwater shrimp as well as a bunch of snails in this video, and they're very tiny. This is a net we have just laying around the house. Again, linked in my description is a bunch of these products from Amazon where you can pick them up, order them ahead of time prior to you actually going and setting this entire enclosure or ecosystem up, but you do need yourself a little net. All right, the next thing is some shrimp essentials. Now this stuff right here has trace minerals in it. I'm gonna point it up to the camera there. It has a bunch of trace minerals, which is good for shrimp when you're first setting up an enclosure. Now, it has little directions on here of how much to use depending on how big your setup is. We will be using this later in the video. I will be showing you for this 10-gallon setup we have, how much you need to actually use for your shrimp, at least to start it up. The next thing is some pellets, or I call them little wafers, pellets, whatever you want to call them. These are little algae pellets. So you see these a lot with like Placo and stuff like that. Really any algae eater, but these guys love to devour a bunch of food. This right here is something you will need. Just some Placo wafers is what that brand is. That's actually Tetra is the brand, but it's called a Placo wafer. Wafers, whatever you want to call it. This stuff, you need a bag of it. Doesn't really matter how big. You will go through this periodically, but the stuff lasts a really long time and it's not expensive. Again, linked in my description. What you will also need, again, none of this is sponsored in today's video, but this is from API. It is a tap water conditioner. This stuff right here is amazing. So I've used this for years and years and years. I've never had a problem with it, but this actually dechlorinates water. So if you have yourself an osmosis system, you really don't need to use this, but I'm gonna be showing you guys as an example from the tap, just getting some normal old water and using some water conditioner that you can set up a little ecosystem. Very simple, but you definitely need this. The next thing up is some gravel. Now you might be wondering, am I gonna drink this? No, I'm not gonna drink this. Again, this is not sponsored, but this company, Contigo, I'm gonna have this linked, or one very similar linked in the description of my video. These little containers, and the reason why I have all this gravel in this container is because this lid right here, there's a little button, and the gravel cannot come out. So I use this all the time when washing off gravel or pebbles or any kind of the substrate that I'm gonna be putting into enclosures. other than sand, because sand can really get out of anything. But for gravel and then smaller particle products that you're gonna be putting into a tank, like any kind of substrates or anything like that, it's good to rinse it off firsthand, especially if you're getting it from outside. You don't want any debris or any other contaminants to be going inside of your aquarium or little ecosystem you're trying to build. But this is a great job at cleaning off any debris that it may have. But you do need yourself some gravel. All right, the next product here is called stratum. Now this stuff is an actual substrate. So this is an aquatic substrate. What you will be doing first is putting about 1/2 inch of this on the actual base level. Now this is used in aquariums, or vivariums, terrariums, whatever you want to use this for. It can be used to house plants that are aquatic. So the plants will actually root into this, and then you will then put your gravel on top of this to actually hold it down and make sure it's settling well. But this stuff does amazing. Again, linked in my description. You may need a couple bags depending on how big your setup is, but this one bag will do us just fine. All right, next up is a light. Now this light has a bunch of humidity stuck in it because we actually had this on a little ecosystem enclosure that we already had, and we're gonna be reusing it. So I cleaned it off, nice and shiny, kind of, not really, but again, not sponsored. I do need another one of these little lights. I'm probably gonna go ahead myself and buy another one. These are awesome. They're like a little bar and they're adjustable to whatever length you want. These little things obviously pull out here. It doesn't really matter though, but you can adjust it to whatever length setup you want, and they do make bigger ones of these as well. So again, different light sizes will be linked in my description, but you will need a light, preferably a UVB or LED light, so that your plants can grow. That's the only reason you need a light. All right, before I get into the plants, I have myself right here behind me. It's probably hard to see, but this is a 10-gallon aquarium that I got from PetSmart. It was super cheap. Now they do sell lids for these as well. You don't need a lid, and I'm not gonna be using a lid for this setup, but these tanks that they sell at PetSmart, Petco, places like that, or on Amazon are super, super cost effective and cheap. I mean, they're not cheaply built, but it's just really cheap material to get, and in return for you, they're not that expensive. So you can get a ton of different sizes. Again, that is at PetSmart, Petco, or on Amazon. Again, I got this one at PetSmart, and I believe it was like maybe 15, 20 bucks, maybe. I don't even think it was that much. It's probably like 15 bucks. I can't recall. I'll have the price dropped right here. I'm gonna have the price right here for how much I actually paid for it. Now, when you get this little tank, or whatever size tank you're getting, you're gonna wanna clean it out. So make sure you use aquarium safe, whether it's wipes or if you're using paper towels and water. Make sure you're getting it nice and clean before you just go immediately and start putting stuff into it. You never know how long it's been sitting on a shelf, or the dust and debris and all that kind of stuff that could be in or on the glass as well. So make sure you clean it off thoroughly before you start putting anything in it. All right, next up are some plants. This right here is some Anubis. So I don't know how to say the bottom part there, but this is a safe plant to be able to put into one of these little vivarium setups or ecosystems, whatever you want to call it. This one we picked up at PetSmart while we were there getting some other tools and supplies we needed. It was pretty cheap. Again, you can get this stuff in bulk online, or you can go to your local pet store and get it. We also got some more plants, which this is a bag right here of them. Kylie, my fiance, actually got these, and I don't know what they're called. So I'm gonna have them linked right here. They're gonna drop up on the screen what these plants are actually called, excuse me. All different kinds of plants you can get though for a setup like this. There's no real particular one that you need to get. There may be some different varieties of like shapes and sizes and what they end up doing and where they are in the water table. So make sure you do your research and figure out what you want to get before you just go out and buy it, or ask the person at your local pet store if it's not PetSmart or Petco, because they may not know. They may just tell you, hey, this is the good one. You want to do your research before you just go to places like that. But if you're going to like a local pet store, they should know, if they're selling a product like this, what should be comfortable to use inside of a shrimp enclosure. At least this is a shrimp enclosure or ecosystem. Make sure you go to a local place and ask them. If they don't know, go to Reddit pages, or I will have them linked in my description. All right, so another plant is frogbit. Now this stuff floats on top of the water, and the roots actually go down into the aquarium itself. So I wanted some plants that were at the base, so at the very bottom level, and then I wanted some in the mid section, which we're gonna show you here in just a minute. They're actually in another enclosure that we already have, and they're doing fantastic. I'm gonna be taking some out of that one and putting it into this. I don't remember what it's called. Link, or the name will pop right here, whatever it's called, I don't remember. And link again is in the description. But Frogbit does a really good job at sitting at the water level, and those roots will actually go down in the base. So if the shrimp wanna go up and mess with the roots and the plants, they can do so. So Frogbit, that is a plant I can not recommend enough. All right, we're gonna save the best for last. The second best to last is some snails. Now, these little guys right here are trumpet snails. So they get their name trumpet snails because their shell literally looks like a trumpet. I'm gonna pop up on the screen right now a close-up of a trumpet snail. They have like a cylindrical shell, and they do a really good job at repopulating, and these guys are safe for a lot of fish to eat, like our puffer fish, who chows down on these guys all the time, and these guys are gonna breed inside of this setup like crazy. So I cannot recommend trumpet snails enough. There's a bunch of other types of snails. I'll pop up now on the screen for what snails are safe to be able to put in with these shrimp that we have. But yeah, you're definitely gonna want some snails as well as the shrimp. And the snails just do a good job at cleanup crew and algae eating and just making it an all around good and balanced ecosystem inside of this little aquarium. All right, and last but not least is some Neocaridina shrimp. Now these guys come in all different colors and species, so you can get whatever color you want to. This is just an assorted pack that Kylie actually ended up getting at the store. These guys are $19.99 from our local pet store, and a 12 pack. And we actually got one more. I'm not telling anybody. Oh no, I just told the world. But anyways, you can get these guys for pretty inexpensive. We do have a couple different colors in here, but for the most part, they're pretty see-through. So we may end up getting some different colors here in the near future, but there's all different kinds of these Neocaridina shrimp that you can get out there. So make sure you check your local pet store or go online. There's tons of reputable breeders for these guys, but these guys repopulate and reproduce like crazy. But we have them right now just in a little temporary holding cell, a little prison, while we are setting up this little ecosystem for them. So we got the aerator on them, they're doing great. And that's all you need, guys. So that is everything you will need to set up a little mini ecosystem, and let's go ahead and get to work. All right, guys, well, after you fully wipe down this entire setup, again, I mentioned it in the product feature and what items you'll actually need to set this little mini ecosystem up, but once you get a new tank, or if you've had it established, completely wipe it down with water, with cleaning wipes that are reptile and aquarium safe. Make sure you use that stuff. I didn't mention in any of the products featured that you really need any of that stuff, just kind of self-explanatory, but you should be cleaning out any enclosure that you get or that you're gonna be making into a new aquarium or new setup for your animals. But again, the first item that we're gonna be using here is this stratum, and we are gonna be pouring about ½ an inch of this stuff into the base. Kind of spread it out here, kind of dribble it in there like that, and let's check to see, once I flatten this out, how much this actually is. So kind of just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that actually is almost perfect. I need a little bit more. So let's grab a little bit more of this stuff, and let's dump it in here. Just kind of make our way from one side to the other. Alright, that is perfect right there. So sometimes there's a little bit of like debris in it. Just get what you can out, and then just kind of flatten it off as best as you possibly can. But that is the first step to setting this little aquarium up. All right, so this next step here, there's actually a couple different ways to do this. What I'm gonna do in today's video though, just as demonstration, is I have our little jug here of some rocks, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and dump and make a little tiny bit of a layer on top of this. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the plants that we're gonna be planting into this, instead of me going around and sprinkling my hand where I need to put rocks, because that's sometimes what I do, I am gonna be just dumping an entire layer out to show you guys that you can use those tongs and push them into the substrate and make it very careful and safe still for the plants so you don't damage the root system. So what I'm gonna do here is just gently kind of grab this, and I'm gonna slowly dump out some of these rocks, just like such. Just using my finger, and the reason why I'm using my finger, because I don't want this to be as such thick of a layer, obviously, as the stratum. You do want it pretty thick though, but not super thick, so that you can't get the roots to go into the stratum. But you still want it to be a decent level. I actually have a snail in my gravel. Oh no, it's just a shell. Okay. Never mind. I thought I found a little snail. I did. An old non-alive snail. Alright, I'm going to start just slowly sprinkling this out here. Just like such. Alright, just like that. And same thing we did with the stratum. You're just going to want to gently smooth all this off. Give yourself a little tiny layer, and boom. Just like that, you got yourself a gravel layer. So you can see here at the base, you have your stratum, and then you have some gravel. Now, let's go ahead and get our plants. All right, well, I did not mention it before in the items featured, but we actually have a little hide that I decided I'm gonna use, that we were gonna use for some pea puffers, which, little hint, hint, we may be building a pea puffer aquarium here very soon, but this is a lot smaller than what we thought it was gonna be. So we're gonna be ordering a lot more of them, and we're gonna repurpose this for today's build. But you really don't wanna have a centerpiece for the shrimp, because you want your plants to be able to grow and thrive. But we are gonna be putting this here, just somewhere in there like that, in this little setup. And I got my tongs, I got our first Anubias plant, and I'm gonna be grabbing this little guy, just like this, not to damage it. And I am gonna be sticking him in through the gravel, if I can grab it again. Let's do this one more time. So what I'm doing is grabbing it like this at the root system, just like this, and then I'm gonna be pushing it down into the roots. So if I can grab it right, just like that, I'm just kind of gonna wiggle, 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 and then push it down a tiny bit, and then pack around it, so that that guy is sticking up nice and straight. Just pack it down nice and smooth, and then pack in around them, just like that. All right, so the next plant we have here, I do not recall the name of this plant. It looks, I don't know. I'm gonna leave the name up here on the screen. I'm gonna figure out what it's called. There's a ton of them out there, but our local pet store actually grows these, and this is a tiny little aquatic plant on a disc. So you can either set this disc on top of the substrate, just like that, but what I'm gonna do is slightly bury it. I'm talking like very slightly, so that the top of this disc is barely underneath the gravel. So I'm gonna grab this little guy, and I'm gonna plant him, because he's not a taller plant. I'm gonna put him just with my hand right along the surface level, just like such. So this guy grows really slowly, but again, just kind of packing around where he is, pushing some of these bigger rocks down into that substrate there a little bit more. But boom, just like that, we have two of our plants in the setup here. All right, so the next plant we have here was actually grown at our local pet store out of the water. And these guys grow these guys just like the last little disc there. These guys, once you plant them in the substrate, some of the stalks may actually turn brown, but you're just gonna take those stalks off and they're gonna regrow. So these guys are some taller plants, and they're bundled up nice and neatly. You want these guys to bundle up. It creates a good, like, safe environment for your shrimp to go into. But this is gonna be more of that background plant because it's taller. So same thing, you're gonna grab it at the base just like this, and you're gonna just kind of wiggle away your wiggle worm, wiggle way. You're gonna do a little bit of wiggling and get this guy deep into that substrate there. And again, same thing, just kind of pack around and put that substrate around where your plant is gonna go. And I'm gonna drip this one off to the side right there. And boom, just like that, we have our third plant in. All right, so next plant up right here is the exact same plant we just put in, and it's gonna be going here on the opposite side. So same thing we did last time, we are gonna grab it without destroying the rooting system I did before. And again, grabbing it like this, and we are gonna be just wiggle worming it down into the substrate. Boom, just like that. We got plant number 4. All right, so for filming purposes, I have went ahead and moved my aquarium up on the rack that this is gonna sit on. So I am gonna be now adding some water to this little aquarium, and we're gonna fill it up. And I'm gonna show you guys a little trick so that when you pour water in here, your substrate doesn't get kicked all up and get kicked up all over the place, because the last thing you want is for a lot of this stratum to come up above the rock and settle on top of it. You want to keep a nice drainage layer at the base so that these plants can properly root. Little peep to one of our leopard geckos right back there, Blaze. It's not a reptile video, Barrett. It's not a reptile video. Back to it. All right, so I've moved our little structure out of the way for now. Get a Ziploc bag or a plastic bag. It does not really matter what you use, but you're actually gonna pour the water on top of this so that the water hits this and not the substrate. So I'm gonna have Kylie go ahead and pour in some water. And just like that, you're gonna fill this thing up all the way to the brim. And if Kylie spills a drop, she's donezo. Just kidding. She's doing great. And as you can see, none of the substrate is getting kicked up and water is going into the enclosure. You will see you back here when this thing is filled. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna be putting in, the enclosure is now done, and for just lighting purposes for the video, I have hooked up our little mini bar. Now it's gonna go across and we're gonna have some more lighting to this as well. But for now, this is what we got. So the water is in, you can see clarity-wise, using that little bag method lets the water flow in there nicely and none of the substrate is messed up. So little kind of life hack when you're filling up water in an aquarium with substrate. So make sure you guys do that. It's super easy to do. I learned about it a while ago. But we are gonna grab some of this frog bit, and I do not want to pour any of the water from the frog bit. I'm gonna stick this right here just so I can easily grab it. I don't want to stick any of the water from the frog bit into the setup here. So I'm just with my hand gonna pick it up, and I'm gonna be putting it in to the top. Just like that. It's kind of in like a clump. Just want you guys to be able to see it. Just kind of plop it down, and the root system will flow all around once it starts multiplying itself. But you got a little topwater aquatic plant. I'm shaking the rack on accident. But yeah, now you have a little topwater plant, and I am gonna show you guys a little trick with another plant that we have about using some clips and having the roots stick down to the water as well. So now that the frog bit is in, let's add the last couple plants. All right, so I'm showing you guys a little example here. Kylie came up with this little idea to get some clips, and this is a clipping from a pothos plant, and this is propagating. So you basically take a little clip it around the system of the stalk here, and kind of just settle it to where the water has the root system submerged in it, and then you have the plant on top. So this helps just, again, create another filter for the water, because this is a full self-supporting ecosystem that the shrimp and the snails are going to be going into, and you want it to completely just support itself. So there's no filter that'll ever go on this entire setup. And I also have some spider plant babies, so some tiny little spider plants, and these are also going to be going into the setup. So I am just figuring out where these guys are going to be going. That one is barely in there, but it's in there. And I'm going to grab another pothos we got here. Same thing, just kind of stick it in there like that. And the shrimp are going to obviously go on and do their thing. But grabbing a couple more of these guys and just putting them on the side. All right, now it is time to add some animals. So we got our trumpet snails here, and I got my little net, and I have a little vase that these guys are, I don't want the water from the pet store to go into my new little ecosystem. So I'm gonna be grabbing my net just like this and dumping all of the water out into the net. And actually none of the snails fell into there, which is perfect. So I'm gonna dip this down there. Now I got all my snails out with minimal to no water inside of this little Tupperware right here. And we got all of our trumpet snails inside this container. Let's go ahead and grab these guys and put them into the setup. All right, so now that we got all of our trumpet snails, we are gonna go ahead and dip this down into the water, just like this, and just slowly start filling it up. And what this does is just releases when you slowly drip it down. These guys are all just falling to the bottom. And we're just gonna dump them in there just like this. Bloop. Just like that. We got a sole survivor. Oh, there's two of them. We got two left. Get off. There we go. Falling down to the bottom. Now these guys are gonna go all around. We got all the snails out. There's none left in here at all. And these guys are now gonna go crawl around on the bottom. And trumpet snails are fully aquatic, so we won't find them crawling out of the top here and crawling all over our floor or in any of our other enclosures. So that is a good thing. But our pufferfish love them. So once these guys really start to breed, we can start giving our pufferfish some nice little treats. This really doesn't have anything to do, but I want to give you guys a little tip or a little secret. I'll let you know a little secret. If you guys go to PetSmart and you have one local to you, or really any big chain pet store like PetSmart and places, Petco, these guys, when they ship in new fish, a lot of times they have snails that are invasive in all of their shipments. And if you guys have either an aquarium like this that you want to put some snails into, make sure obviously they're the right kind of snails. You don't want them to, you know, be like carnivorous snails where they're gonna kill everything you have in your aquarium. But if they're an invasive species, if you have like pufferfish absolutely love snails. They will devour them. So these are a nice little added treat. And if you have a Petco, Pet Paradise, not Pet Paradise, that's my local pet store. If you have a Petco or PetSmart, if you go in there and you become friends with the people and you really talk nice to them, they will probably just give these guys to you for free. So just a little life hack. If you're from Virginia Beach, I did not tell this to you because I do not want you to start going into all of the PetSmarts and doing this, because then I will have none. So don't do that, but little life hack. Just so you know, you can get snails for free if you go into Petco and like PetSmart, places like that. So just a little life hack. All right, well, we have saved the best for last. We got our net. We got our shrimp, and we have our partially empty vase with the water from the snails. And this is all water from the pet store, or most of it. And I'm gonna be dumping that out because I do, again, not want this water going into our brand new ecosystem. So what I'm gonna be doing is sticking our net in the top of this little vase here, just like this. And I am gonna be pouring out all of the water into my net here. And I need to go in now and dip this guy back in the water because my setup is completely full. I'm gonna go empty this out now and I will be right back. All right, well, we are back again. That was super deceiving because this looks like it can take in less water than this. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna continue doing what I was doing. So I am grabbing this and I'm pouring all of the water into here. Hopefully getting all of the shrimp out. Did we get them all? I think we got them all. I'm gonna double check here in just a minute, but I'm gonna go ahead and get our shrimp into the aquarium. All right, so we got our net full of shrimp. These guys are all gonna be going into the new aquarium. Woohoo! See, can we just shake them out? Shake and bake, baby, shake and bake. Look at them just diving out of this. Come on, little guys, there's like 2 of them left in there that I see. Get out. I think there's 1 more. I think that's all of them. Do we see any left? I don't. Let's go ahead and take this back out and double check ourselves. Do we see any? A bunch of dirt, but I do not see any. we are golden. I am spilling water everywhere. That is okay. I don't see any in here, right? Nope, there's none in there. We got all of them, guys. I'm gonna double check here by flipping the net completely inside out, because some of these guys were really small. That's not one, is it? No, it's not. Yeah, we got all of them. So, cool. We have finished setting up our little bioactive setup, our full self-supporting ecosystem for little shrimp. And man, look at these little guys. They're so excited. So it is super hard to individually capture these shrimp with this camera, this vlog camera, but there are 13 shrimp in this little tiny setup. I want you guys to comment below if you've made it this far. I want you to comment below what other types or what other species of these little shrimp or snails or whatever should we get and add to this little setup. We can definitely put some more shrimp in here, but keep in mind these guys will breed and they will create more of them. So I can't put a ton more in here. I can put a little bit more. I actually have other little aquariums like this that if you guys enjoyed this type of content and you want to see more, I'm more than happy to make some of these builds in the future. But once this fully finishes out and grows out and really plumps up, there's gonna be a lot more aquatic veggie plants for these guys to go into and get some hides in. That's why for the time being, I wanted to add these little pipes here. These are like little pea puffer hides or cichlid hides on a little miniature scale, so these shrimp can actually go in there and just chill if they want to, or they can go up under the middle, or they can just sit on top. I just wanted some space for them to be able to go in and actually get some coverage. So we got a couple darker shrimp in here. I don't remember the exact name of them. There's a couple of those in here, and for the most part, they're more or less pretty clear. So there's tons of different colors. I'll drop up on the screen different colors of these guys and species and morphs and variants, whatever you want to call it. I'm not huge into the shrimp world. This is really one of our first little ecosystems with shrimp that we've ever done. I've gotten tons of snails before because I feed them all the time to my puffers and I've had them in aquariums, but this is one of our first builds that we've actually done with a full, completely self-supporting ecosystem, and I'm super excited to let this thrive. So if you guys enjoyed this type of content, make sure you drop a like down below, consider subscribing. I know I've probably said that a couple times, but it really does help out the channel, guys. I want you to drop a comment below and comment the word shrimp, and I also want you guys to comment what color shrimp we should get. There's like other reds, there's blues, there's tons of different colors, yellows. Comment below what color we should get. Drop your favorite color or drop what color you think would look cool in this little setup. I think some yellows and some reds would look awesome. I'm sure Kylie would like to see some blues also. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and get into this outro. All right, everybody, I appreciate you watching till the end of this video. This whole video would not have been possible without Kylie, my fiance. So again, drop a comment below. Don't say Kylie, don't give her praise or anything like that, but drop the word shrimp down below in the comments. She's over there laughing on the couch while I'm filming this. But this is gonna be an awesome little setup. I hope you guys can build something very similar. Drop me some pictures. All my other socials are linked in the description of my YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys watching here till the end of this video. Hope something you can take away. Hope something you can take away from this. I hope you can take something away from this video. I appreciate you. I love you. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.